Good morning, Leadwerks engineers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Weekend Workshop. We're coming at you live in 2025, where we will discuss last week's development and plans for next week's development. This was actually a very interesting week because I ended up doing something completely different from what I thought I was going to be doing, which that happens from time to time, and it's usually good when it does. Sunday, I started messing around, last Sunday, I started messing around with Klepto2's Scintilla widget that he wrote a while ago. And I wanted to see how hard it would be to add a built-in script editor into the main interface. Turns out it wasn't that hard. It's almost done after 1 week. I've got everything except breakpoints aren't added. Debugging is there. You can pause the program, but you can't step through line by line, and there's no breakpoints. But I don't think that'll take me very long. You can actually set breakpoints in it. It just doesn't recognize the breakpoints. So let's talk about the motivations for this and why I think this is a good thing. So the plan for Leadwerks 5 was to just rely on, that was a little Christopher Walken, wasn't it? The plan for Leadwerks 5, the plan was to use Visual Studio Code for the IDE to replace the built-in IDE that was found in Leadwerks 4. And the reasons for this, this at the time, Visual Studio Code was like this new editor from Microsoft. It was being talked about very much. It had a dark theme, which fit in with our editor very well. It has a very nice extension system that allows you to do a lot of different things, including support for Lua debugging. It's cross-platform, so this will run on Linux, no problem. And after using it for a while, I took a poll on the forum, and 2/3 of users prefer Visual Studio Code over the Leadwerks 4 IDE. Which is cool, but a third of people still prefer the integrated IDE. And I've also seen some questions like, "Hey, do you think you could add your own, include your own version of VS Code with the editor, just so that everything that you need is included in the program when you install it?" And just noticing mostly just little behavioral things that people get snagged up on, and this is not without problems. So the install process is much more complicated than I would like it to be. The error handling isn't great. The debugging isn't great, and there are some issues with the Windows Z order that could be better, like the way that windows are layered when you're using this thing. So let's talk about this in more detail. The install process is easy. You just download Visual Studio Code, which is not to be confused with Visual Studio, because those are two completely different programs, even though they have almost the same name. Thank you, Microsoft. That's not confusing at all. Then you need to install the Lua debugger extension by DevCat, and definitely not any of the other hundreds of Lua debug extensions that appear when you search for this. It needs to be the one by DevCat. Some of the other ones, if you have them installed, they will interfere with the functioning of that one. So, of course, don't do that, because why would anybody do that? It's the one by DevCat, that one. And then you have to go 4 levels deep into the program settings and enable an option called Allow Breakpoints Everywhere. If you don't do that, then breakpoints won't work. If that setting gets turned off somehow, breakpoints won't work. So you definitely need to allow breakpoints everywhere 4 levels down in the program settings. Easy. Anybody can do it. Well, probably, but this isn't a great first experience for people, especially if they're new to Leadwerks, especially if they're new to programming. This isn't the best. This isn't really the first thing I want them to see. Welcome to Leadwerks. Here's a bunch of weird stuff you have to sift through, and you need to install this other program, and then you have to install another program that works with the program to make the program work, and then you have to customize all this stuff. It's not great. Let's talk about error handling. Real quick, somebody tell me what the error is and what kind of error it is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Too late. This is how error reporting, errors happen in the new IDE. I just added this the pop-up box this morning for a little added emphasis because I like it. It reminds me of how Blitz 3D actually displays errors. So same information. It's just very, very clear here. It's a syntax error, unexpected symbol near this thing, and then if you look at the line, this could be a little bit darker because that's too bright. It needs more contrast with the text. But yeah, the error is very, very clear. Here, you've got all the same information, but there's a lot of visual garbage. And because I've got more control of the user over the whole process, I can sort through all of that information and just present it in the way that really gives you the best user experience. So error handling is much, much better in the built-in IDE. Let's talk about debugging. This is what the interface for the debugger uses. Now, VS Code, it has some very advanced features. Like if you hover over a variable name, it will display all the information for that object. That's something that I probably can't do with our Scintilla-based IDE. But if you look over here, look at camera. It's like sol.d. Maybe that's debug. : U. I don't know what that is. Ultra engine namespace. It doesn't even show you camera because the name is so big that it's off screen. This display here is not great. There's no icons to really distinguish things. Again, it's just a lot of visual clutter. This is what the new debugger looks like in the integrated IDE. To me, this is a lot clearer. And if you look here, like the camera object, it even uses a camera icon to indicate what kind of entity it is, which is nice. I can't do that with VS Code. What I want to also add an option to where, like, when you select this, it'll select if it's an editor that was in the original scene, then it'll go to that object in the editor, which would be very, very cool. Yeah, there's just a lot more opportunities for giving you the best user experience possible. So VS Code debugger, integrated text code editor debugger, big improvement, I feel. Window management. Okay, so with VS Code, it's a separate program from the level editor. So if you want to switch back and forth between the level editor and the code editor, then you have to go down to the Windows taskbar down here and find the right icon and click on it, and then it switches back and forth between windows, or do the Alt-Tab thing to cycle through windows.
You okay?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for me, but go on.
Oh, sorry. Okay, or you have to do the Alt-Tab thing to cycle through windows. Okay, so because I've got way more control over the program, the script IDE, the IDE, this always appears on top of the level editor, which is really nice. You can still go full screen with it by maximizing the window, but it's always on top of the level editor, which is something I really miss from Leadwerks 4. And then when you launch the game will appear on top of the IDE. Now there's a setting that's enabled by default to keep the game window on top. And when this is used, I did some clever coding with the window sorting. When different windows are selected, if you select the IDE window here, this is what happens. This is amazing. I don't know if you guys realize it. I don't think I've ever seen this before in any Windows program. The game window, the script window, the IDE appears on top of the game and on top of the main window, but the game window still appears on top of the main window. Even though the game window is a separate process, it's a different program running. So it's sorted, in other words, the game window is stuck in between these two windows that are of the same program. That's actually very, very, very tricky. I've never seen it done, but it makes a really big difference, because then when you're working with this, you can just flip back and forth between these two windows, and you never have to go down here and look for the right icon to click on, which it doesn't, when I'm describing it, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're using it and and this is something that gets very, very frequently used, you want it to be as frictionless as possible. You always want your most frequently used actions to be really, really quick. That's one of the reasons this sidebar here is a big improvement versus having the tools up here in the toolbar. When you're using something like hundreds of times a day, you want it to be really, really fast. And then, okay, well, the IDE window appears on top of the game. What happens if you maximize the IDE so it fills up the whole window? Well, then the game just appears on top of it. So this allows you to work with the IDE maximized, so you can pause the game and go through the debugger or whatever, and the game window will still be very easily accessible. And this is an option you can turn off if you don't like it. It's in the options, but this is the default behavior. And then finally, Visual Studio Code, it's becoming bloated. It's getting these weird... it's getting a lot of weird security prompts and stuff. Do you trust the authors of of the files in this folder? Yes, I trust the authors. No, I don't trust. What is this? What does that mean? Restricted mode. This window is trusted. Okay, in a trusted mode, you can tasks are allowed to run. I don't know what a task is. Debugging is enabled. Okay, that's good. All enabled extensions are activated. In restricted mode, tasks are not allowed to run, which I still don't know what they are. Debugging is disabled. Okay, so debugging won't work. And 9 extensions are disabled or have limited functionality. I don't think I even have 9 extensions installed.
What that is trying to refer to is the warranty and security of the trust on what you have, or the creation that is a certified original, that is safe to use, versus maybe something that was not so. It's like a back door to open into your program that you would not want, because you're not using a secure and an official copy of the original program, so that you may want only the official license and security in order for Microsoft to use what you're trying to integrate with it.
Right. So is this, this is probably not for a new user who's just seen this for the first time, especially if they're new to programming. This does not look. This is not something that's going to make them happy. These warnings are not going to fill them with joy. This is not the great user experience that I want.
I'm just explaining the purpose behind that.
Yeah, I know what they are. I know what they are. I'm just saying, what is this? Somebody's not gonna know. I generally understand what it is, but still, it looks scary. So scary is not, fear is not the emotion I want people to experience when they're using this software. And it's just not good. Besides just all the visual bloat. So Leadwerks IDE, this is powered by Klepto2's awesome Scintilla widget, which he has released on GitHub for free with the MIT license. And, Klepto2 has done some other stuff, like the volumetric shader. That was both him and I. The code went back and forth between us to get that worked out. And a number of other things. And what's great about what he does is not only is he technically proficient, but he's got really good ideas. So he has good ideas about what would improve the software, and he has the ability to execute and implement those ideas. And that's a very powerful combination. So we should be very thankful for Klepto 2 for making his Scintilla widget. Using that, I was able to get this set up in only a couple of days. So it saved me an enormous amount of time. So thank you, Klepto 2. Thank you. Can we get a golf clap? So Leadwerks IDE, I feel this improves the experience for new users. Already I can tell you, like, even if you're already adept at using the VS Code approach, this will increase your productivity. I can tell you right away. It's really nice. And then I could tell that after working with it for like 24 hours. And then, there's no reason to get rid of the VS Code debugging support. It will remain in place. If you wish to continue using Visual Studio Code, you can. But I think most people, in a couple of weeks, if we take a poll again, I think most people are going to greatly prefer the built-in Leadwerks IDE, the new one, over VS Code.
I think the only reason to use VS Code would be to make extensions and plugins, or extensions for the editor.
Like what?
Like extensions, like tool extensions for the editor. Because you can launch Visual Code.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So you can launch the. Let me explain that. The editor. I've got this weird Discord overlay appearing on top of the editor. Do you guys see this?
Yeah. Oh, they update Discord and everyone hates it. So
it's weird. Yeah, it's not intrusive at all. So okay, so the editor itself uses Lua for plugins that you can use to modify the behavior. Like here we have scripting, utilities. We have these different, like here's the OpenAI plugin, which I'm going to start calling these plugins, by the way. This allows you to do AI generated text to image. It's really not that great, but it's kind of cool to play with. So the editor itself runs with Lua, and you can debug you can launch the editor with debugging enabled, so that you can debug the plugins that you're writing in Lua. I haven't tried launching the editor. I haven't tried debugging the editor from itself yet. I have not tried that. But you can do it in VS Code. So that's what he's talking about. So yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Let's take a look. Okay, so there's some new options. If we go to Tools, Options. Okay, so you can choose to open Lua files either in the built-in IDE, in Visual Studio Code, or you can just use the system default, which it might be Notepad or whatever. There's some settings for the debug port that you're using, which you probably don't need to change. The debug levels, like how many levels down in the hierarchy it goes, and then the option I was talking about to keep the game window on top. And then, so by default, when you open this up, it'll pop open in Leadwerks IDE, or you can just go up here, scripting, open IDE, or hit F3. That's a real handy. I like F3 because it's just easy to get to. And this is what the IDE looks like. Actually, I think this looks way better than VS Code. Actually, VS Code looks kind of raggedy. It looks like an HTML page with not very good formatting now. Like I used to think it looked really good, and then I saw Leadwerks IDE, and I was like, oh, VS Code doesn't look that good. So the options for launching the game are a little bit different. You just go up to Run, and then here it's a little bit more like how Visual Studio does it, where you have to select the configuration you're running, and then you just hit the button, and that makes it actually run. I like this, and you've also got one of these up here too, and they change in unison. So if I change to debug, then that changes to debug. Another like small little modification I did this morning that hasn't gotten released yet is if you run from here, the script IDE, the IDE doesn't actually pop up unless there's an error if it's not already opened. So that's a small little improvement. And then when you run it, the game output, the printed output, will appear here. Errors appear here, like you saw.
No, that's really great for like C++.
Yeah,
games. Good.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
annoying in Leadwerks for.
Yeah, it's just those small little tweaks really make a big difference in the quality of the user experience. And the only way I can find those is just by using it over and over and coming up with ideas. But it's a lot of fun when you have this much control over the user experience and you can just make it as the best possible thing that people can enjoy. That's very, very fun to me. So, before we continue, are there any questions about any of that?
Nope.
Anyone?
I do have a question not related to this. How difficult will it be to change from the format of the Leadwerks 4.6 to the Ultra Pro when you have projects in Leadwerks that you want to import into the new engine?
The model files carry over very, very easily. The scene files mostly do, but the terrain system is significantly changed, so it can't be like the terrain and the vegetation system are completely different. So the loading of objects isn't perfect with that. But for the most part, like for the rest of it, it carries over pretty well. Excuse me. The programming API is totally different. It's similar, but it's different. So that's not a straight translation. But like the models and the texture files, those work absolutely seamlessly.
Because I know there's those that used your previous engine and will want to update to the new engine so that they can be more creative with the similar game but updated. That's why I'm asking that specific question.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Okay. This is a good time. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like our segue. The segue to our sponsor. I just want to give a thanks to everyone who has recently given us a thumbs up on Steam. This includes T-Tiki, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Capcrunch, Metal OS, Acknowledgia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy, Kashish Master, Marcy 3D, Gamer, Saru71, Mazel, Timmy, You, Plisa, Gravitate Games, Lilybite, Wreckage, Technofox, Casmic, Doctor Who 3DGX, JD Gaming, Reap Blue, Anthony Python, CZX 18888, Edel and Trick, Merrick IJC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, Drake Black Merrick, Project Mayhem, Pedrito, James W. Harden, Troyinator, Altitude, Lucky Luke, Slick29, Gavaris 3, Waxy, Renhawk, Neo, Tuerto, and Jessica 07. Thank you guys. Thank you all. Really appreciate your thumbs up on Steam. Can we get a golf clap?
Yeah, you could probably recite that in your sleep now.
I'm getting there. I think I still have to read it, but I think if I keep doing that, I'll have it memorized.
You don't have to like look at like the names with all those weird letters and spelling. You know what it says. You're just like, oh, it says this.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if we don't have any other questions, then I'm going to close the video here. Leadwerks IDE, it's available right now. on the beta branch. It's called the dev branch on the if you have the standalone build. So if you opt into that, you can download it and start using it right now. It's just built into the editor. Breakpoints are basically the only thing that are not supported right now, but I don't think that's going to take very long. I was just scrambling all week to get it sorted out, to get it functioning, and it went up yesterday afternoon. So I was really happy just to be able to get something working out to you in such a short amount of time. It took me about 6 days and about 1,500 lines of code. And it's just about complete. So I think it's pretty great. I hope you guys enjoy using it. Please let me know your feedback on the forum or on Discord. Let me know if you think how it can be improved and what you like or don't like about it. And we'll talk more about this once everybody's had a chance to use it. But I think it's turning out pretty great, and I think this is a huge improvement. Going forward, we've gone quite hard in the technology direction, and there's still a few features that I plan to add this year. But I want to spend some time on going in the opposite direction, making things that are great for brand new users, for beginners, for people who are new to Leadwerks or new to programming altogether. Doing stuff for them, and this is one of those things. I think this really helps bring the fun back. I think this, makes the user experience just so much nicer. I'm thinking more about tutorials and planning that, and I think I kind of want Leadwerks Lua to be sort of like I want a little bit more Roblox, a little bit more Robloxy in the design. So for the tutorials, I have like probably 3 in mind that are like multi-part tutorials that demonstrate how to put a game together. I want to primarily focus on Lua because those are the people who need the help, the most help. Although I think the code will be translatable to C++, and I think I'm going to go with kind of a cartoony style for those.
Yeah.
Because that eliminates the need that eliminates a lot of the art demands. I mean, we've already done like the cool, AAA looking stuff. But I think for the tutorials, I think more of a bright cartoony PBR, style using the PBR materials when appropriate.
Everything looks like Lego.
Yeah, like plastic, like that plasticky look.
Yeah.
I think that would work really well, and like having like some what was that game that had the little guys that it was like an RTS? It was like a defense or an RTS game. By the guy who's.
I remember that. I don't know who that was.
His name starts with E, and he makes a lot of.
It was like there was like the little like it was little like Roblox people, and they're like it was a castle defense.
Yeah, I call them blockheads.
Yeah, maybe it was called blockheads. I don't know.
It wasn't, but that's just what I call them. They have like these square. They don't really look like Roblox, because they sort of do, but like Roblox has round heads, I think, and these guys had like their heads were almost a cube. It was like a rounded cube, and it was cute. But having like a little person like that, and in one game maybe he's a knight, in another game he's a soldier, just depending on the setting, having something like that just kind of eliminates all the complexity of the art, and it just really puts the focus on the game mechanics and the code itself. But I think there's a lot of inspiration to be found in Roblox, actually. And one thing that they one interesting thing I think that's really interesting about Roblox is they use Lua, and it's for beginners, but it's programming heavy. Like they're not afraid of code, which is very interesting. So they kind of prove that like Lua is simple enough that you don't have to be afraid it doesn't have to make you afraid of coding a game. So just in very general terms, that's kind of my feeling. I think, looking at Roblox, I think there's some ideas to be found there.
You could
Is there,
do
is,
a tutorial where you do it primary in Lua, but have a little switch to C++ for those that want to understand how it would be done in that format.
Yeah, we'll probably do something like that actually already, because we already have that in the documentation here. You can switch between languages like this, so I figure the same thing should probably be doable with
is the video off?
No, I don't. Not yet. I'm still recording.
Okay.
And I think the simpler style makes it easier for people to add to it too.
Yeah. Lemmings. I've heard of that game. I don't know what it is. I was thinking like
Couldn't find it on my end. He posted like his like project proposal, and I downloaded it a long time ago, and it got saved to my Google Drive, and then I guess I deleted it. Good. So. But I know exactly what game. Unfortunately, probably no one else does because it's an old school Leadwerks thing.
I've heard of the game Lemmings. I don't know what it is. I'm thinking like first is Marble Game, and then like in a series of like five or six tutorials, and then you guys are actually all going to want to download and learn the Marble Game tutorial because you're going to learn a lot from it. I would like to add multiplayer to it, so it's sort of like multiplayer racing. That would be very powerful. And then the next is like a basic first person shooter where instead of showing off and trying to make something that looks cool, I'm walking you through the steps of doing a very simplified version of everything, complete with multiplayer support. And then maybe third would be like an RPG, because I know a lot of people want that. And if it's just using the cartoon style, then that's much more like that's becomes something that I can do myself in like 2 or 3 weeks instead of it being a long drawn out project.
You should not misunderstand the cartoon look. It's, in my opinion, even harder to make a cartoon looking game instead of making a normal looking game.
It's easier to find assets though with that style.
Yeah, and you need to change some shaders maybe in order to make it look good.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
don't
hard,
really,
to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just try it and see what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't have to look like amazing. It just has it's like programming art, but it's like a step above programming art.
Yeah, it's like stylized programmer art.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all for joining this week. I encourage you to dive into the IDE and see what you think of it. And we did not get the update to Envision PowerBoard 5. That didn't happen this week. That's okay. Next week, it's probably more likely to happen. And I want to get the downloads. I've got the editor open. I can probably show you the downloads. Oh, I don't have the debug. Never mind. That's only in the debug build. Okay. So the download system that I was talking about, I'd like to get that working soon. So yeah, to finish up Leadwerks 5, what we need is the breakpoints in the IDE. I want the download system implemented. So those are 2 new features that I wasn't counting on, but I think they really add to the user experience. And then tutorials and the remaining bug fixes, and that'll make Leadwerks 5. So thank you all for joining. That concludes our video.